All right, so I'm really happy to have you guys here today. And so can you start off by introducing yourselves and then just telling us exactly what you do?
I can do that. I am Cindy Lombard. I am a women's health nurse practitioner. And what that means is I'm board certified in women's and reproductive health.
I'm Holly McDonald, and I'm a registered nurse of over 3 decades. And Cindy and I hooked up with a grand dream of natural.
Okay, so how long have you guys had this practice?
We opened up July-ish of 2023, right?
Okay.
2023.
So relatively
New.
Okay.
18 months or so.
Okay. Yeah, I thought you guys had been here longer than that, to be honest with you. So
Yep.
That took me off a little bit. So have you guys always done like homeopathic or like, I can't really say alternative anymore, but like just not the norm, so giving people an option outside of the typical Western medicine, let's put it that way.
Well, allopathic medicine has always been the driving force for decades. People follow allopathic medicine. That's what they know. In my experience, because I actually come from the West Coast, I was born in California, was raised in Oregon. I never saw a physician or an allopathic. We always went to chiropractors. I grew up on a farm. So moving over here was a little bit of a culture shock because they are more allopathic minded here. Slowly but surely that is changing. So I have always practiced in that mode at home with my own children, things like that. However, allopathic medicine is not something that we don't need, but there really needs to be a combination of all of the different methods of healing coming together in a more mainstream thought process.
I'm sure you probably feel that being a nurse.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, when Cindy and I met, one of the things that intrigued me the most was, wow, there's someone else who believes strongly in that. So that was a very, very strong magnet to not only our friendship, but my desire to help her develop something like this.
Well, I wanted to throw in because, see, Holly has a huge background in emergency medicine and cardiovascular medicine.
Huge.
And so what really came home for her was the fact that a lot of the patients that she was seeing in the emergency room shouldn't even have had to have been there. We know that there's ways to circumvent needing to go to the emergency room. And that was a real sticking point with her. I also have always been one of those people that are like, whoa, that's a road that didn't even need to be gone down because of what we do know or didn't get discussed when you see your primary care, things like that. It was avoided and missed. And I don't want to be that provider.
And I had a huge frustration for physicians, other nurse practitioners. Hey, there's a pill for that. Here, take that pill. Instead of, as Cindy said, let's find root causes. What's causing this? It's easier to just, let's get the prescription pad out. Take this. Perfect example being a hypertension issue. People who have issues with hypertension, instead of exploring reasons why and addressing it with not only diet, exercise, but other things that are natural, instead of writing for the beta blockers or ACE inhibitors, etc. And to me, those are just poison. You give those kind of medications, not that they aren't needed sometimes, but you give those medication and it leads to them experiencing another issue. And then that one gets a pill and then it goes into another issue. So if you can attack it in a natural method and have good results, I'm all about that.
I think that's 100% true, especially like coming from a dietetics background. That was like something that we always were fighting against constantly. Doctors just want to prescribe the pills because they get money. Unfortunately, we live in a system where people really just, medication just makes them money and that's what we're happy with.
But the patient assumes that they can get a medication and that will fix it.
Overnight.
Yeah.
It'll fix me overnight, and that's not.
Yeah, no, I think Americans just want a quick fix. That kind of like is the whole thing with like Ozempic, and now like there's a whole. I mean, we already knew that there was going to be a slew of issues with it, but it's like all coming out now, and I'm like, come on, guys. Like, I understand you want a quick fix, and like I know eating healthy and working out and doing all of that in today's world is like really difficult. Believe me, I get it. but it's just, you have to make those sacrifices.
You have to make the changes. I am pro use of the glucagon-like peptides, the GLPs. I am pro. The reason being that I'm pro, to give you a little bit of background on that, is that one thing, again, root cause analysis, when we take it back to there, that's not being addressed, primarily for me in women's health, is the fact that this entire country is suffering from food addiction. Root cause analysis is all of those microplastics and the BPH and the high fructose corn syrup and all those things that are in food since childhood. People don't realize baby formula has high fructose corn syrup and seed oils, and all of this inflammatory process starts when they're not even born. We need to do more about addressing the food addiction in this country. GLPs, the Ozempics, the Mounjaros, the tirzepatide, semaglutide, it goes by so many different names, is a good tool.
Yes.
It's a tool. I will see patients, I will start them on mainly tirzepatide. It tends to, at least in my patient demographics, have less side effects than the semaglutide. Yes. And the patients that really have struggled to lose weight, that perseverate on the food cravings, that's torture. That's true addiction. It's a real addiction and it needs to be addressed, but it gives them a minute to breathe and rethink their diet, their habits, their exercise. When they come back, I'm not one of those who does the telemedicine or whatever. You come in my office every week, I'm going to take a full set of vital signs. I want to know how you're feeling, how your elimination is going. I want to know the whole picture. And every visit, we talk a little bit more about, I need you to write down a food diary. I need you to be cognizant of how much protein you're taking in. In some cases, limit the amount of alcohol. There's all these little pieces that have to come together. We know GLPs are actually helping mend the microbiome of the GI. All of those pieces work together so that when they get to the other side, they don't need a GLP because they've been remade. And that's huge, to get people off their food addiction and redo their habits into a healthier way to think and live.
And I think that's one of the primary reasons that people complain that, if I go off it, I gain back all that weight. Well, part of the learning process and the teaching process of receiving the GLPs is you have to alter your lifestyle. You did not get like this overnight. You are not going to get back to 100% overnight.
And we don't hand out a diet sheet and say, here, do this.
We encourage the proteins in the water, etc. and so forth, watching the caloric intake, getting the exercise. Even if you start out small with your exercise, getting a little movement. People are often very enthusiastic when they see that scale go down a little bit. And that it
incentivizes,
them want
right.
to continue. But yes, you can continue. And GLPs are expensive, okay? And they most oftentimes are not covered by insurance. So you want to get the biggest bang for your buck. And by doing that, I do a lot of education when I give the GLPs at Cindy's order. And most times I make people look at me square in the face and say, look, you have got to alter your lifestyle. Otherwise, you're going to quit taking this and it's all going to come back and then some. So it's an investment in yourself.
No, I definitely agree with that. I'm not against them, but I think that the way that the doctors are handing them out and the way that they're making it like this quick fix.
It's a great fad right now.
And it's just an
and
easy
everybody
money maker.
thinks it's, the answer to their prayers.
There you go.
And it's a tool, like as Cindy said, it's a tool to help you get there, to see the results, to want to continue and change your lifestyle. So that accompanied with other things and the nutrients and et cetera, the supplements that are recommended for the deficiencies that you have to help you metabolize are also important.
Because all of that, the tool to help heal that microbiome.
Yes.
That's going to take supplements. That's going to change a diet and thought process and how you approach food. I also am one, and there's always a big debate on this. I'm a huge one when it comes to intermittent fasting. there is so much research coming down that intermittent fasting is also a tool that can be used. I've been intermittent fasting for, 9 or 10 years. I see huge growth in my ability to strength train, to function. The brain functions better while we're fasting. We know all of those from the research. So there's lots of little pieces coming down because we've been taught all these American fad things that really, when the research hits the road, doesn't come out in the wash. And I think those are all important pieces to learn.
No, I think I do agree with you. I think we'll see how it goes. I'm very intrigued to see the long-term effects of Ozempic.
Absolutely.
I also heard a lot that has a lot to do with like over prescribing, that it really doesn't take as much GLP-1 to see a significant like difference versus maybe, and that's why that drug has less side effects when it's a lower dosage. Because I was listening to somebody who does this for them and like is really big into the research, but she's like, it's really turning into more of a problem with like overdosing, and we're just giving too much and not giving such a small amount.
Wants to see the client.
That's why I don't do telemedicine stuff. I just don't.
Sure, how are you dealing with this? How is your appetite? We don't want you to starve. Oh, it just wiped out my appetite completely. I'm not going to eat it all, because let's be realistic. The body will start burning muscle if you don't feed it.
Yes.
So and that's a huge other aspect.
Cindy will do an assessment. We'll say, okay, how do you feel on this particular dose? And very strict as far as increasing doses. Not only is it very expensive when you start climbing, yes, but you don't want to then, I can't afford it anymore, crash, and now where are you? When you haven't learned the whole pattern of how you have to change your life.
Overcoming food addiction.
Yes.
It goes back to the root cause.
Yes.
Really, it goes back to like gut health. I listened to a podcast a very long time ago that talks about how the gut there's a sympathetic thing that goes between the mind and the gut. Yeah. And so if your gut is a certain way, your mind's going to feel the same way. That's why I feel like, personally, I don't know. I was 23 and I felt like complete crap. My wife felt like crap when I was tired of this. And coming from that homeopathic background, I said, okay, we got to do something. So I cut out all gluten, we cut out all plastics, all artificial scents. I tell people we make everything ourselves.
Exactly. That's a huge thing.
That's huge.
There are so many people, and you get the commercials on television. Oh, these dryer sheets, this room spray. Do not use those. Those are poisoning you. Yes. They're dangerous. Those are the cause of infertility and metabolic disorders. That's a huge key.
I'm really excited about Robert F. Kennedy and his background and knowledge, and I think the American awareness is going to open up tremendously, because people are pretty much ignorant about what they're putting in their mouth. Oftentimes I'll hear Cindy tell a client, stay out of the middle of the store.
Yes.
Because what's there? Poison. Basically poison. All your preservatives and frozen foods. Yes, they're fast. Yes, they're convenient. More oftentimes than not, they're cheaper than buying good, fresh, whole things. And people are living on restricted incomes, especially over the last several years. But the fact of the matter is, you have to make your choices wisely. And I know that I have personally learned a great deal over the past 4 or 5 years with Cindy in those food choices. That is number one. Your food choices have to be primary.
Because in the long run, that box of your favorite cereal is going to cost you a hell of a lot of money on down the line. It's not saving you any money. It's certainly not saving you any time when you pour that into the bowl of your kid. That's going to cost them in longevity and performance, and it does cost more, even if it doesn't seem.
Grape nuts every morning was a good thing.
We all did. That's just kind of how it was. And, coming from the dietetics background too, like when we cut all of that out, I saw a really big difference in me. Like, if people tell me how much weight I've lost, like in my face and the way I look, and I'm like, I don't really feel like I've lost that much weight, but like I've lost weight. Like I'm like water weight, inflammation, all of that. And I even feel like a different person.
And it's not a matter of the scale. That's what everybody, and I have patients who come in and they want to see that scale go down. That doesn't always happen. That's not how it is.
Being increased. You start to build muscle that weighs more than fat.
And you swell too. Because you're using muscles that you haven't, so you're going to gain. It is what it is. It's just part of the process.
How do you feel?
Yes.
How do you feel? That's the most important thing. How do you feel?
No, I definitely agree with you, because I can say I experienced a really big difference, and I tell everybody, get rid of your scents at minimum. I don't care if you, and get rid of gluten. Get rid of gluten and get rid of scents at minimum, and plastics if you can. Like, those three things to me, like, I think could make
high fructose corn syrup. I have to interject there. If it's got high fructose corn syrup in it, it should not be consumed by humans ever.
Skull and crossbones.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think for the most part, though, if you get rid of gluten, you get rid of a lot of that.
And you can, but people, you hear a lot of people going, well, I grew up eating this.
It wasn't the same, too.
That's exactly my point. Right.
It's just not the same.
It's not the same.
Like I told my mom, too, my mom also was, like, pretty much gluten-free for the most part. She's my mother. I love her. But she isn't as strict as I am. Like, I'm pretty OCD. Like, I don't go out to eat very often. And if I do, it's very, like, specific, because I don't want to feel sick. Like, we kind of have cleaned up our diet so much, and I live in such a clean environment that if I go outside of that, it kind of is, like, a problem for me. And I'm like, I don't want to feel like crap. Like, it's just not worth it to me.
Agreed.
Case in point. Yeah. Go over to Europe. How many people go over to Europe? There is none of that in that food. They can go over, they can have their pastas, etc., and so forth, and not have the issues that they have if they have it here. I mean, if the European Union is saying, no, we can't have that in our food, no, why are we putting it in our food? So
no, I definitely
I think getting back to the whole Robert F. Kennedy thing, he's going to bring a really big awareness and hopefully follow suit, and we'll get rid of all of this and quit poisoning our children.
Yeah, no, I thankfully agree with you on that. It's just kind of funny, though, because my mom will order flour from, like, Italy, or we'll order it from France, too, and import it in, and then I will cook with it. And it's been really fun because things go bad so quickly. It does not last.
Isn't that interesting?
It is, and so I always feel like even if you buy, like, organic flour here in the U.S., it's still, I mean, obviously, we could have a whole conversation about it not actually organic, but we're not going to go there. But even if, like, so it has less, it's supposed to have less stuff. That's really what it's supposed to be. And if you took that and you also take those flours, this flour from Italy or France is going to go bad 10 times faster even than our organic flour. So to me, I'm like, what are we doing? There's something more here. Because, I mean, I don't know if I'm sure you guys probably do know this, but they can hide 5% of anything. So if something on a food label is less than 5%, they don't have to add it in.
And a lot of people don't know that.
No, they don't know that. I mean, I know that from a dietetic standpoint. I had to know that. It was part of, like, when you read a food label. I mean, I could put a food label together, so I have to know the regulations on that. So with that 5%, people just don't realize what they can
get away with.
And what they can get away with, because it really just leaves it open. And also with, like, the natural flavorings and spices and things like that too. Like, my wife has a lot of interesting food allergies. We recently went on a low histamine diet, so we got rid of it a lot, and we actually don't have, like, she's actually doing a lot better with all of her, like, allergies and stuff. She actually got into something, and I was like, oh my god, she's not going anaphylactic, thank God.
And people need to add in the fact that a lot of those allergies or sensitivities actually occurred back when you were very young, when that immune system was in the GI, was handing out all of those things and presenting all of those antigens. But we keep eating it in the that actually is a whole other subject when it comes to the way we feed our babies. That's another episode. Okay, we'll have that episode later. So you're absolutely correct.
I agree. Even with me, like, I'm allergic to chicory root, and so I didn't know that, and so I dealt with, but they put in artificial smoke. So think about barbecue sauce.
Oh, that's right, they do.
Yeah, and so that's how they make it. And so I dealt with, like what I thought was UTIs forever. Like, I'm in high school, like, they weren't UTIs, but I'd have, like, urinary pain, and, like, what's going wrong with me? And it, like, caused, like, a whole slew of issues. And now that I'm an adult, I finally figured out what it was, and I would be in excruciating pain. And I'm like, I have a UTI. I take the medication. It would make it better, but, like, it didn't. And I would also take, like, kidney, like, the D-mantose to try to, like, see if I could get rid of the inflammation. Nothing. And then I would deal with it for, like, a week or two. It was terrible. So I don't deal with that anymore. But
interesting.
It didn't fully surface until I was 23, like, to where I actually, like, had a strong enough reaction that I would be like, oh my God, I can't have this.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. So that goes, like, back to, like, what you were talking about. I probably have always been allergic to it. It's always been in barbecue sauce for synthetic reasons. And so I didn't know. And so then you're basically killing your gut the whole time. That's kind of the problem too, I think, with a lot of it.
You're keeping in that chronic inflammation that then, again, is a basis for it to get inflamed into something else later on.
Yes, and that kind of leads me into talking about like preventative care. So I know you guys do a lot of different things here, all scales from beginning to end. You know, premenopause, postmenopause, I'm sure, and then even like fertility type stuff as well.
I do,
which
yes.
That kind of is even before all of that. You know, prime years of a woman's life trying to get pregnant can be very complicated, especially like in today's world where a lot of people are struggling with that or have some type of issues with that. I'm kind of familiar with all that. Being gay, getting pregnant is not always it's a lot to deal with. It's definitely not an easy process. So
not an easy process.
My heart goes out to those that also can't get pregnant just at the whim. It's a lot to deal with. A lot of doctors, a lot of costs too. I mean, I don't know. It
can be huge amounts of money.
I mean, I spent $12,000 on sperm. So you tell me.
Oh, I have to tell you, I didn't realize sperm cost that much.
Yes,
there you go.
Don't. Yeah,
I had no idea.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. I had no idea. I am very familiar with artificial insemination. Our lab actually is not set up to do artificial insemination, but there is vaginal introduction. You don't have to do intrauterine insemination. So that definitely, you could even do that at home, really. Yes. But infertility is an issue that, again, we're going back to that nutrition piece.
And the prevention.
And polycystic ovarian syndrome is a huge dominant factor that's going on in our women today who are trying to get pregnant. PCOS is a violent syndrome that is attacking people, and it's coming from the environment, from the toxins, from the phthalates, from the microplastics, from the, diet that they've not only currently doing, but previously doing. And all those things have fed into. When it comes to the menstrual cycle in women, it's a little bit complicated, but what you see happening is these women trying to get pregnant, they're having the abnormal uterine bleeding, the heavy menstruation. There's so many pieces that come into this, but ultimately what it means is that ovary's not popping an egg out. They're getting the follicle stimulating hormone and the luteinizing hormone from the brain. But at the end, when that egg, you're supposed to develop that little ovarian cyst, it pops, delivers a mature egg to be entered into the fallopian tube. That piece is not happening, so you end up with this buildup of of eggs in the ovaries. And that's a whole conversation. There are ways to improve chances of having an ovary pop out. I'm being very oversimplified here.
Of course.
There are ways of aiding that. When we go back to like allopathic medications and things, yes, I do use metformin because we have to realize PCOS is also referred to as type 2 diabetes of the ovaries. We know that when there's inappropriate amounts of glucose in the vessels, it messes with a whole array of metabolic processes. Metformin is one of those medications, when used appropriately, can help modulate the amount of glucose that is in the vessels. And that's one piece of it. There's other pieces. There's still, exercise. There's still diet. There's still letrozole is another. It's an aromatase inhibitor that can be used in certain instances. I introduce women to really keeping good track of their cycle and knowing when that ovulation is occurring. There are ways to track to see if an egg actually popped out of the ovary. So those are all pieces that we discuss. Thyroid is huge. There's a lot of people out there. Endocrinology is a really, I understand basic endocrinology. Do not misconstrue what I'm saying. I am not an endocrinologist. But when it comes to the reproduction in women, there's a really important piece as far as ovulation goes. We need to understand that your T3 has to be within range to bring about ovulation. I had one patient, she had been trying for years to get pregnant. I ran a whole profile on her and it came back and her T3 was sitting at 2.6. And I'm like, patient, let's see what happens if we bump your T3 up, and then maybe, a letrozole or something like that after that. That first month, put her on a thyroid medication, bumped her T3 up into, I think she went up to like 3.5, which is still within the normal range. 2.6 is also, but we have this range. Bumped her up. She called me and she goes, you told me to try this letrozole on day 3, but my period's just pink. It's not really. And I'm like, why don't you go to the store and do a pregnancy test? And I was going into a yoga class, did the yoga class, came out and checked my messages. And she's like, Cindy, the pregnancy test is positive. It just took a little boost in the T3. That's not the picture for everybody, but it was for her case. But you have to pay attention to all these pieces to bring together just ovulation. Whether that egg gets fertilized or not, there's a lot of other pieces that fold into that.
And this is where I'm going to jump in and I'm going to blow Cindy's trumpet. She's gotten several women pregnant that have had serious issues over many years of trying or having miscarriages. She's gotten many women pregnant. She's brilliant. She really is. And while she's not giving away her secrets of what she does or how she does it, but the whole understanding
it's not a secret.
of the female and everything, every aspect of it is what we're all about. It's what we're all about.
We love what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, we like coming into the office. This is not a, damn. It's not like that where you're going through the drudgery. I've worked in the jobs where you see the 30 to 40 patients a day and you bloody well know you're not doing your best.
And I
okay?
think
It's,
that because we don't threaten anybody to write us a Google review of positive. We get a lot of really great reviews because we make the woman who comes in here comfortable, able to discuss how they're feeling or what's going on, etc. And Cindy is a great listener, and if she doesn't know the answer, guaranteed within the week she'll have the answer. She will.
But I think that's the important piece when you are practicing medicine is I personally do not have all the answers. No one does. You don't. Holly doesn't.
Nobody does.
Knowing where to get the answers is that key piece. I may not have the answer, but I do know where to get it.
But the most important part about what you do is that you take the time to listen. You're not on a conveyor belt in a doctor's office.
That will never be here.
With every patient every 15 minutes.
No.
You take the time to initially and thoroughly talk to the patient.
Okay, but so do you. That's not just me.
I understand. That's our goal. Make them feel like they're important here so that we can get to the problem or get a resolution. Mentally, physically, we can help.
When it comes to practicing medicine, to providing, I think it's fair to say that there is an ego issue that goes along with it.
Yes.
And I'm not going to deny that. This also feeds me. When my patients reach their goal, their health goal of whatever that is, that makes me look good too. So I'm not going to lie on that piece of it. But it really is this whole team effort. When you come in here to Essential Woman, there are pieces for the outside, there's pieces for the inside. We have all encompassing. We have Rejuvenate Massage and Wellness here. We have Lindsay with Smitten Kitten Lashes. People don't realize, check the research. Did you know that mental health improves with getting your lashes done? Fact.
I believe
Absolute fact. Women have an improvement in their mental health if they get their lashes done. I'm a farm girl from Oregon, okay? I don't do my lashes. I don't, I just don't.
Yeah, no, that's not my thing either.
Well, the first time, a few months ago, Lindsay did my lashes. Son of a bitch. When I wake up in the morning and I see myself in the mirror, I'm like, you're good. It's a wonderful feeling. It's completely uplifting. There's nothing like it.
And expanding on that further with Shayla. I mean, how many women go out and get themselves waxed?
Yeah.
Well, and
that's
parabens
amen.
Waxing is dangerous.
Shayla does the sugar. we get really, really, really good, excellent, long-lasting results without exposure to the toxins. Again, another alley that we're traveling down in the whole natural. Let's make it
Nothing
better
but bare
for you.
sugaring is here.
Yes.
I like women to know, do not expose yourself to parabens. It's dangerous.
Yes.
We have sugaring. Way healthier. Way healthier.
So it's outside health and inside health.
Correct.
That's our goal.
But it's all connected. Because I think again, like it kind of goes back to what I mentioned, like what we talked about before with the gut and mental. I think we're coming to finally to that like vision state. I think across the board, I hear it like from other people that maybe the gut is more important than we thought it was, and maybe that's like a huge issue to our mental health. It is huge.
We have the enteric nervous system that directly hooks into the brain. I know you already know a lot of this too, but the enteric nervous system and the brain are connected.
Yes.
It's like I have patients that are like, I'll ask them, so does it feel like you're pushing your thoughts through a bowl of Jell-O? Yes. Exactly. What are you eating? How are you, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. I was going to jump into, it's like I have 35-year-old women who come in here. They've had the 2 kids, the 3 kids, the whatever. Number one complaint. They just can't seem to think like they used to in their 20s. So we go through this whole process and investigate, but they've got the brain fog. They're starting in with a few of the aches and the pains. They're starting in with the don't really care a lot about libido. It's very low. So that's graduating into relationship issues. Let's check it all out.
Overall happiness.
Yeah. No,
right.
I really truly believe that our divorce rate is so high, mostly because of our terrible eating and health. And
you just took the words out of my mouth, because it is.
I just feel like that eating and bad choices cause issues for them, like across the board. Even my friends too, I watch it and I'm like, come on, guys. I know you feel like that because of what you're eating. There
is another piece to this, because everybody who comes into this office knows, and even the grad students that I have who, do their rotations through here, I'm a huge advocate for testosterone therapy. Now, in women, that means something completely different than men, and I want to make that clear, but we do testosterone, bioidentical testosterone therapy here. And one of the key pieces that people don't know is if you don't have an appropriate testosterone level, guess what? You don't have an appropriate oxytocin level. Oh, that love hormone that aids your brain into connecting to another human? Yeah, if your other hormones aren't balanced, no oxytocin, no bonding. So those are little pieces that people are like, I'm sure my testosterone's just fine. Let's get it checked.
Yeah. Because
when you think about people, when you watch YouTube and all of this, it seems like there is a tremendous number of women, because I do mostly women, I do testosterone therapy on men as well. The way I end up with the male patients is I have the wives and the girlfriends going, go see Cindy, go. Get your labs checked. So that's how I end up with the male patients.
Happy men, happy women.
Well, and that's the thing, is that no matter where you're at in life, healthy men are healthy for women any way you want to split that up. We have to be able to recognize being able to bond to another human is essential on all levels. So,
well, all that's very important. I get it. That was not my reason.
Well, true.
Okay,
you're right.
Very active, very strong, pretty smart, and I found myself feeling my age, so to speak. Brain fog, forgetting things, or just, what did I come in this room for? But my strength, I know, markedly diminished, and my balance. And then postmenopausal, the weight gain, and not being able to lose it, despite good eating habits and exercise habits. Talking to Cindy about it, she says, let's check your hormone panel. Well, yeah, I'm in the basement. It's no wonder that I feel
You were
the way I
sub-basement, if you remember
I was
right.
sub-basement, okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yes, I was sub-basement.
She's calling you out there.
So here I am witness to testosterone therapy, say that 3 times fast.
Right.
And I am feeling so much better. And so my balance is back. I mean, I had a bad fall a couple of years ago for stupid reasons. The pain that I was experiencing, the balance issues that I was having.
That was bad.
I mean, this is just kind of like super to feel. I'm 67. I don't feel anywhere near that anymore. And I was worried because I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be old. I don't want to be old. I really don't.
Also, the statistics aren't your favor. I think it's like, only 67%. Most women who fall, like at your age, it's only, I think less than 20%, like don't have some type of serious injury that leads to something later on. The numbers aren't
correct.
Hip fracture lifespan post-fracture is generally a year or 2 at best.
Yeah, no, it's really, like those statistic numbers are like
Yeah.
horrific.
Yeah.
They're really
Fracturing
terrible.
a hip is 30 to 70% chance of dying within the first year after that hip
So
fracture.
testosterone being
Dangerous.
important for your bone health. Not only
Yes.
brain health, but your bone health as well. So,
I'm intrigued to ask this. I feel like I have my own thought process on this, but what do you think is really causing this? Because I feel like older people, generationally, like, like my great-grandparents, so people that were born in their 20s, they like aged okay. Like they did age, but they were, my mom talks about her grandmother being your age,
it was a
going out there
world.
and cutting up things and doing.
It's really interesting that you asked that question because we've actually known since the 1930s that men as well as women, and this is only in the 1930s, we knew that men as well as women did better on testosterone therapy. We knew this for a fact. Okay. Then we get into women can get pregnant, so we better be careful. So a lot of research on women dropped off. There's not near the research. Men, boy, we have it down. You show up with all these symptoms in Holly's ER and you get all of this. Women show up with the same symptoms and we give them a benzo. It's very, very different. But we knew back in the 30s. We also knew back in the 30s, at least we have this to go on, what the average testosterone level for men was back in the 1930s. And that was somewhere between 8 and 1100 picograms per deciliter. We'll just keep it to the 800 to 1100. We knew that was the normal range. And we fast forward through the decades. In the 60s, we're now saying that normal is between 400 and 600 and whatever. Normal, fast forward to 2018, 2016 is the last time that I found for the average. And the average male testosterone level is now all the way down to 416, 460, somewhere in there. That's now average. What the hell happened? Seriously, what the hell happened?
Yeah, because I think...
And we consider that normal.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not.
It's not.
And my male patients can testify to the fact that that's not normal.
Well, again, lifestyle, the ease and convenience for doing everything. The farm workers or, the farmers, et cetera, and so forth. All of that manual labor that even the children were forced to do. Now they're all sitting around on their phones.
Yeah.
Or they're driving around in their cars. Or they're sitting in restaurants having food brought to them with no real learning of meal preparation, et cetera, and so forth. I think it all piles up on this big haystack. Yeah. And here you have it.
I think we just have bodies that are exhausted and are crashing and burning by the time we just can't do it anymore.
But low testosterone in male or female is key. It's just one of the puzzle pieces that we have to address. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I really like to emphasize is, yes, we have all these chemicals in our food. We can get outraged over it and all of that. But big food is going to continue to manufacture those types of poisons until we stop buying them, until we stop feeding them to our children. They're going to have to leave that market because we need to stand up and speak up.
Well, again, it's a convenience factor.
Correct.
It's so much easier to throw a Hot Pocket in the microwave for the kids than cook them a meal. I know when I was growing up, every evening we had a meal, a sit-down meal that my mom or my dad prepared. You know, oh, go get yourself a Hot Pocket or go get yourself a pizza, whatever. You know, a lot of it has to do with the convenience that people are used to having.
I also think it goes back to that people don't feel good, so they don't want to do it.
Well, that was what I was. You took the words out of my mouth, right. and they're so tired that's right.
They just don't have the energy to deal with their children.
Right.
I think there's a lot to be said about all of this for sure. Like I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. I'm very intrigued because I'm still very young. I'm only 26, so I'm intrigued and hope that my age group continues on the path that a lot of us are on. A lot of us are kind of over it. We see it because, like I said, I was 23 and felt like absolute crap. Like I had like terrible stuff, and I'm like, I'm 23. I should be like happy-go-lucky and like ready to go and energized and not brain fog and not all of that. And at 23, I had all of that. I'm like, what is wrong with me?
Right.
You know? And it's sad. My age group, we really are feeling those ramifications. Like most of my age group has like bone issues or health issues. I mean, like it is like
and
very
GI
severe.
issues are so huge.
Yes.
And Cindy and I, being of different decades that we grew up, we see the difference in today's kids. As far
we do.
As that. And we understand what the differences are, and we're understanding what that has done to them.
Yes.
How do we fix this now? Step by step. Education, big part of it.
Prevention, yeah.
Yes. So
I think getting that.
I think it's one of those things where there will be changes, albeit slow, but with people like Cindy, come in, talk to her, tell her what you're
I'm
feeling.
Willing to spend the time at it.
She does.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a huge win for
me.
Yeah.
That's a huge win. But especially for women, because women need to get out of the mindset because of the Women's Health Initiative that came out in the early 2000s. That messed with women now for decades. And fast forward, women still have it in their minds. Well, estrogen causes cancer, causes breast cancer. Yep, estrogen can't go on hormone replacement because that estrogen causes cancer. No, it doesn't. The study was what was messed up, not the estrogen. The study was completely effed, and I'm trying to get that message out to people. Do not go by what the Women's Health Initiative. Fast forward to now. Number one killer of women, cardiovascular. Number one killer. Number one way to protect your heart, appropriate testosterone levels.
And have you heard recently the increase in colon cancer?
Yeah.
And
big contributor to colon cancer is the
latest research, Journal of American Medicine. Guess what? Oh, turns out women who are on HRT and taking estrogen replacement, less chance of developing colon cancer. Why? Oh yeah, estrogen has huge anti-inflammatory when it relates to the gastrointestinal system, huge anti-inflammatory effects.
Yeah,
just
Cindy
now.
and I joke about it, more or less, and I joke about it quite a bit with our clients, is I'll say to them, well, you're past baby making stage. So they don't have any use for you anymore. So, we're not going to...
And it does make you wonder.
We don't want to keep you healthy. We could care less if you're healthy or what you need. You've outserved your purpose. Whereas men, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we joke about it, but it really has a lot of
But it's not a joke. But I talk to women every day who have talked to their primary care about how they're feeling and this and that and the other thing. Oh, well, it's anxiety. Oh, and then in the relationship, I think my significant other, she must be bipolar or something. You hear all of these, and it's like, no, it isn't.
There's a pill for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's stuff going on. I mean, I don't know. I think it's just been ignored, and unfortunately, I'm happy to see that you guys and others are letting people have voices and actually like be heard.
And actually get better.
Yeah,
and actually get real healing.
It makes you feel really insane when all like, I mean, like I said, I'm being 23, and like my wife too. Like if we get into gluten or we get into certain things, like she's like, I literally am on the bathroom floor contemplating like my life, and I'm like, I get it. Like this sounds so dramatic, but it really does affect like my mental health.
It absolutely does.
Our mental health, and like we can see like a huge difference. Like I get,
sure it does.
I don't want to talk too much about it, but like with oh my goodness. Like with MTHFR and like COMT and like all of the genetic issues that can go on with you, which I have some of them and she does too. Like I'll get really angry because I have like fast
over
CMT.
60% of the population carries the MTHFR gene.
Yes.
And there's people that are like, and
I have
exactly.
One. She has both.
And there's like people going, well, I'm taking my B12s and I'm taking, it's like
you gotta have a
probably useless.
Yeah.
You know? So,
which I never knew until we talked about
we
that.
switched her over to methylated. Oh,
this is how it's supposed to work.
No, it's true. Because I have one factor and not the other. So I'm like, I can kind of methylate. And so I find that if I get into gluten or get into other things, like I won't be. So I can take magnesium all day long because I end up with migraines and stuff. And I take it pretty regularly to kind of helps me avoid a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I lack it probably. And so I will take it and I'm like, I don't feel better. And then eventually I'll get out of that, whatever funk I was in, my body finally gets out of it. And then I'm like, hey, it's working again. I feel great. Like, it
exactly.
helps me sleep. It does everything it needs to do.
Exactly.
And that's a big problem too.
Yes.
Again, like I tell clients, this did not happen to you overnight.
Yes.
Give it a moment to work. It's going to take a little time for you to feel the difference.
It took us a year just to,
exactly.
I mean, be honest.
But people are so...
That's what I tell people.
If it doesn't happen right now, it doesn't work. No, you got to let time and the whole issue of change work on you in order to see a difference.
And it gets faster, I will
Don't
say
give
that
up. Keep it up. Let's continue on. And see, and sure enough,
yeah.
We've had clients come in here, I mean, literally in tears and shaking and trembling because they've been to this doctor and that doctor and this doctor and that doctor. And basically, yes. And Cindy will sit with them for an hour or whatever it takes. And they come out and they're so happy somebody has listened to me.
Yeah.
And then we work on the process of getting them better. And I told Cindy, we have got to do before and afters.
Yes.
I know we never have done that, yeah.
Because we have got some clients that started with us in the very beginnings, 18 months ago or whatever it is, that are completely
different people. I'm not exaggerating.
No, I think it's true. My mom went on estrogen, like, and got all of her stuff, like, did all of that, like, all of the correcting hormones and all that stuff. And she really became a different person. She was like, I feel like myself again. I didn't feel like myself.
That's exactly... I graduated from high school very young. I've always had this quick brain. I have no trouble learning things or whatever. I have a quick brain. Then about 38, 39, things started slowing down for me a little bit. Then I went into grad school and I went to nursing school 4.0, read the material, took the test, got the light, all of that. Hit grad school. The anxiety and the brain fog and the struggling of the 3 years to get through grad school was outrageous. Because of what we were taught, hormone replacement therapy was never really discussed. Well, that anxiety and that depression and that, it was never addressed. Fast forward through grad school, now I'm studying my own thing. I can go down my own rabbit holes, not somebody else's curriculum, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, Mother of God, holy. So you mean sign me up? And I have been on hormone replacement therapy for, a year and a half now? Mm-hmm. My brain is back to where it was when I went to nursing school. Easy.
Look at your generation.
Yeah.
You can't talk to anybody that's not on a pill for an antidepressant.
Oh, I know.
Or
which is terrible for your gut health, by the way.
Which is brutal on your gut health.
Yes.
But we already have these little kids who are taking the Previcids and the, all of the other Nexium and all of the, it's like you realize that extended use of proton pump inhibitors can cause cancer. That's a real thing.
Anything can cause cancer if it's gone too long.
Right. It's just you cannot limit the amount of hydrochloric acid in your stomach. PPIs are useful in certain circumstances. I don't want anybody out there in the but extended use every day simply because you have reflux, it doesn't work that way.
And the same thing with the ADHD. How many kids are being diagnosed with ADD and ADHD?
In a lot of cases, it could be, absolutely. But then there's also, when it comes to ADHD, what about the aspect of the inflammatory process and the leaky gut? Those also play a huge part in all of those things. You know, we have the adult onset ADHD and things.
I know that's been a new thing.
Let's go back through all of this diet, because I'll bet you're going to find inflammation and a leaky gut. Betcha. But at the same time, I can understand why other offices really don't address it, because it takes a long time. You have to spend so much time with that patient and breaking it down and coming up with the rationale of what's going on with them. That yes, when you consider how much insurance is going to pay you and all of that, spending that much time is not going to pay the light bill.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the nicest way. I actually understand. I am good friends with some very, very amazing physicians in this town, and they are amazing at what they do. But I also understand the perspective that they're coming with. They can't spend an hour going through all of this. There's no way. They have to see a patient at least every 15 minutes. Yeah. I actually understand that, and I agree with their rationale for that. Me, I don't. I'm out of the rat race. I'm going to spend, when you go in to book an appointment, myessentialwoman.com, you'll see the appointments are an hour apart. I don't care why you're coming. You can be coming in for a birth control consult. You can be coming in for a hormone consult, whatever. It's an hour apart. I'm not running.
You know,
and
giving vitamin injections and hydration therapy. I'm not just there to process Cindy's plan. I want to educate. I mean, part of being a registered nurse has always been education to the patient, being their advocate. So I do spend the time to educate the patient to follow through on her plan of care so that the patient fully understands this is what's going on and this is the plan to fix it. So we have a great deal of belief in take the time, listen to the client, take the steps to improve it, and encourage them to continue on the path. And we have success.
Yeah.
We have a lot of success. She has a lot of success.
We have a lot of success.
I just do what she tells me to do.
I think it is important. And I think Marion County especially, I think across the world anyway, we need more of you guys, more people doing what you're doing. And I think there is a large group coming along. And I really think it's beautiful and I think it's wonderful. And I'm excited, again, to see where things are going to go. So I do want to ask. So I know you're not from here. Are you from Marion County?
No.
No, so neither one of you are. So where are you guys from?
No, ma'am. I was born in California, but I actually grew up in Oregon. So I was raised by hippies. So you have to understand, I never went to an allopathic physician or anything. When we had to go to the doctor, we were taken to the chiropractor, because remember back in the days, and this would have been in the 70s, even chiropractors delivered babies, they did primary care, they did adjustments. So
and they still do some of that.
And they do. And it is different West Coast versus East Coast mentality, but I grew up never seeing a physician.
I didn't really see one either. I mean, I had chronic eczema for the majority of my young life, and we went to an acupuncturist, and I went to Dr. Rusty.
Acupuncturists were at the chiropractor's office.
Yep.
Exactly.
And so we went to Deborah Gaffney in DeLand, and I went there for a very long time, and any issues that I had, we went to her. I had migraines, I went to her. I had this, I went to her. You know,
That's how I grew up.
Yeah, I didn't really go to the doctor very much unless, you know, I needed a physical for sports or, you know.
Right, but you can go to the chiropractor for those too. Yeah. So, exactly.
Yeah, no, so I definitely get it. But where are you originally from?
I was born and raised in Chicago, but I lived in southern Florida most of my life. Okay. And I didn't go to the doctor because my parents couldn't afford to take us.
There is that.
And I had two grandmothers who were very, very much into that natural healing process, you know. The tea and the honey and all of that kind of thing.
Chicken soup is real.
The chicken soup.
It is real.
Yes, it is real. It absolutely is real. So that was where I never had a whole lot of exposure to doctors until my career started.
Your career? Yeah.
And then I was like, what the hell did I do?
I mean, that's kind of how I felt too, to be completely honest. I mean, going into dietetic school and like I learned about, what I learned about was fine. I learned a lot about diabetes. Good God, Jesus. I don't
Amen.
think, oh my God, it was
You
like
are correct.
endless all the time. That's all we learned about. I think that was probably a good, a large portion of my degree that I spent learning about diabetes and all of that.
Look how it's mushroomed over the years. The diabetic.
And cardiac.
We used to refer to type 2 diabetes as adult onset diabetes. We can't even use that anymore. We have little kids with it. And again, nobody is addressing that absolutely frightening statistic.
I know. Oh, that's super scary. No, it is. Now, so how long have you guys been here in Marion County?
I moved to Marion County in 2006. I believe it was 2006.
I've lived in Marion County for just a little over 7 years.
Okay.
But I used to come up here from when I lived in Southern Florida, up here all the time for the horse shows. And I really enjoyed being up here. It's changed a lot.
Okay, it's changed a lot.
But I thought, this would really be a nice place to live, and here I land.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think Ocala has seen a lot of growth and change over, because I've been here almost 10 years, so about the same amount of time, and it's definitely changed a lot. I remember it was still slow. Ocala 92nd Loop wasn't done. There was a lot of roads not finished, redone, doing what they're doing, and
a lot of the change is hurtful too.
Yeah.
I have neighbors now, and that's
really honest, and it breaks my heart to see a lot of these horse farms being sold and commercial developments being put up in the apartment buildings, and it breaks my heart, because one of the reasons I loved coming here was because of the country, the whole relax, and in Southern Florida it's a rat race. Just
I know. My family's from Naples, so I definitely know. Yeah.
I was in Fort Lauderdale area, so it was just craziness down there, and I got to get out of here.
No, I don't blame you. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. I think Marion County, though, we are going to have a good balance. I really think we'll just be a large suburb, so we'll have.
I'm getting the feeling for that. I don't mind the flavor that Marion County is becoming because of the different areas that people are coming in from. Really are bringing some amazing restaurants, amazing amazing healthcare. But the other thing is, like, if you go over here to the Marion Market, over there on, I always forget the name of the street. I know how to drive to there, but I love it, especially for me when I go through there, and all of these women-owned businesses that are coming in, and all you have to do is walk through and see all of the incredible talent that the women of Marion County, whether they're new to Marion County or have been in Marion County, coming together. We're all about that. I have a lady who designs all of my earrings here. I have another lady who does we have our own line of fragrances here that are all because of all the specific talents that people have. And that's really coming together. At least as far as Marion County, people are getting an idea of how to do better. And I like that. I'm huge when it comes into independent business.
If your listeners don't know, get out and explore. It's amazing what you'll find.
Exactly.
There is
so that it continues to grow in a positive way.
No, I agree. There's a lot to be said about the growth of Marion County, and we just got to give it a little bit of time. Like, I know we're going through some growth pains. There's a lot of.
Got to let it settle a little bit. I completely agree.
The market slowing down is going to help that too. We're not going to have as many people moving here. People are still moving here. I can promise you, people are still.
I can promise you they are. I have neighbors on both sides now, and I didn't for 13 years. I didn't have neighbors. Okay. Yeah. Now I have neighbors. Yeah. So okay.
I'll be truthful. It wasn't an okay.
Okay, so I cried a little bit. I did,
a little?
But
I
was bringing her big boxes of tissue.
No, it's definitely a big change. A lot of people have mixed feelings about it, but we do have protected farmland. That is still a thing.
It is still a thing.
At the end of the day,
yes.
The farmer has to sign. I don't know if people know that, but you can't just rip it.
And that's exactly.
And unfortunately,
those are facts.
Where Liberty Triangle is, over there by WEC, and all of just that whole corridor, like Marion Oaks, and you have Liberty Triangle above, that was always going to be something. Marion Oaks is 22,000 acres of residential zone property. I've done the math. It's like 22,000 people. So, I mean, and that's just like 2 people. So if like it's one person, that's per house, that's 22,000 homes. How many people is that really going to be in reality? You know, that's crazy. Those are crazy numbers. So I mean, that whole infrastructure there off of 200 and all of that, I mean, unfortunately, it's going to have to change to support that many people, because at some point it will be built out.
And all of that infrastructure will need to change. Yeah.
Look at 27. Used to be two lanes each direction. And a farmer sold out his property because the price was right.
Yeah.
Sold out, and now we have probably 10,000 apartments that have just been built.
I know.
Where are we going to put these people?
No, I agree.
And what concerns me even further is, are these people going to be on city water, or are they going to be using the aquifer? That is of concern.
I will say they are making changes there. So I have seen that, like where I live.
That's good to know.
Where I live, so most of Marion Oaks actually is all on public water. I don't know if you know this or not, but it's all on public water.
That is correct.
And then some of it is on septic. But some of it's on public sewer too. It's kind of like a roll the dice on where you're at. If you're in the farther portion, then you will get well and septic, but that's such a small, minute portion of where they're building. So I will say that's the plus. Silver Spring Shores, where I live, like I have a well and septic, but they just put city water not far from where I am. So I figure probably in the next, I don't know, probably 2-3 years, it'll probably be at me too.
And I live by WEC.
Okay.
So with that
over there at Rainbow Park and all that up there,
building that they've done over there,
I know.
There was talk that they were going to be bringing in city water and sewers. You know, I don't want that.
Yeah.
I like my well.
I do too. I'm with you.
I like my well too.
I like my well.
Yeah.
I kind of feel that too. I get
my
that.
water tastes good, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean,
I just want it to last.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just want it to last.
Yes.
And that's what concerns me.
No, I agree with that. It is a big concern. People don't really understand how that all works, and it is. Luckily, we're in Florida, so we do have more water than everywhere else, but it's still a concern across the board. I mean,
well, clean water
that's a big
and the
thing.
ability to get access to clean water should always be, as far as Maslow hierarchy goes, should always be in the top 3. So, yeah.
No, I agree. So I'm excited, though, to see how Marion County goes in the next
I'm
years.
loving it. I absolutely am loving it.
And I think we're really gonna, like, I had a young family that was talking to me, like, they want to have kids, and I was like, look, if you're a young professional like me, it's kind of snoozeville here, I'm not gonna lie, like, there's not a lot to do, meet young professionals that are, like, I'm married, but I don't have children, so, like, meeting young professionals that are married, that don't have children, like, there's not a lot of that here, because it's just not that type of space, but if you're, like, a young person looking for a solid place to live, it's, like, very family friendly.
I think that's changing, especially when you think about all of the newer restaurants and other spots that have come in. I think it's slowly, I agree, but I think it's slowly changing. But there's really, when it comes to people our age,
oh no, it's great for you guys.
I have to say, I'm very satisfied.
Too. And I think the family thing is the next thing that's kind of it's going through. Like if you have younger kids, different kids, I see so many family activities going on. There's like a family activity every weekend. It's just
exactly
young people like myself that are without children. Let's put it that way. There's not as much here yet. I think that will change, but we're always the last.
I think that's in the process of changing. I really do.
To some degree, I think. We'll see how it goes. I'm intrigued to see. It's just, we got a lot of way to go.
There's a lot of good that's going on in Marion County that people need to be aware of.
No, I agree with you on that. There's definitely a lot of good. I always tell people, though, if you're like young, because that's always their biggest concern. Is it an okay place to have a family? And I'm like, I think it's suburbia of all suburbias. So yes, I think it's what it's becoming. You know, I think Gainesville's pushing down, Orlando's pushing up, and Tampa is too. So we're kind of getting
exactly. That's a good way to explain it. Exactly.
This like large suburb. I think we'll be kind of similar to Jacksonville in some ways too, which is going to be kind of interesting. And I'm excited to see that. I lived in Jax for a while when I was in college.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. So we're the second largest county, and they're the largest. Duval's the largest county. So we have that similarity kind of thing going on where it's a large place with a lot of little pockets of places coming. And I can see that. And I see that coming here, which kind of excites me because
I like the idea
and
of that.
I think that's like kind of where you were talking about where like a lot of the younger, hipper things will come as those pockets develop.
I see that happening.
Yeah,
I do.
So I'm very excited to see how that goes. So at the end, what I always ask is if somebody's looking to do something that you guys are doing, what would you tell them? Just my way of giving back to, young entrepreneurs. I'm a young entrepreneur, so I like to give back to them.
I think that's a really good question. Do you have to be a nurse practitioner? Not necessarily. But the message that I like to give out is when it comes to practicing women's health, you have to be passionate about it. You have to want to submerge yourself in it. There are other people out there that are doing, like, say, bioidentical hormone replacement. But they're doing it, they plug in these numbers into this program and just follow what the numbers say. They don't have the background to actually be able to appropriately diagnose, to appropriately get people on hormone replacement therapy and what that piece means. But as far as getting into what I do, be really aware, like what you were saying about where diet plays into. You can get into health coaching. You can get into massage therapy, which is huge. Those are all the roles that also can be a piece that leads into better health for women. It doesn't have to be just a nurse practitioner. There's lots of little pieces that play into being that provider for women's health, I think. What do you think?
I don't think so.
What do you think?
I think you have to have the background experience, knowledge to be successful in changing women's lives like this.
All I've ever done is women's health is what she's playing. I don't really know anything else.
But like she said, you plug in these numbers and it gives you a kickback on what you ought to give. We're all unique, individual human beings.
It doesn't...
We don't all fit into that box that this calculator says. Getting back to what I was saying, Cindy ends up spending the time to find out all the facets in the life that need to be tweaked or to be resolved or to be enhanced. And I think that's the most important part. As far as what we do here at Essential Woman, to have her knowledge, ability, skills, genius, etc., is top of cake. To do what we do, anybody can go and do this. You got to have the money. You've got to have the fortitude. You got to make the connections. Anything is possible that you put your mind to. Anything is possible that you set forth to want to be successful at. And failure is part of success. So we struggled when we first started, but with fortitude and the positive, going and doing something like this, yeah, it's possible. Do I think that just anybody can do it? I'd have to talk to that person.
When it comes to women's health, the possibility of screwing it up is a very real possibility that people have to keep in their mind. Throwing some testosterone and thyroid med at somebody is not going to make everything all better. It doesn't work like that. And I have come across in some other areas of my exaggerated scenario coming about, if they don't practice women's health, at least have a consult with them before you finally decide. All I know is women's and reproductive health. I don't know anything else. I've been doing it for a very long time. If you don't know women's health, all those other little nuances can be very difficult. So, what you were saying.
Yeah, God made us very, very, very unique and very, very, very complicated.
And so he should have.
No, I 100% agree, because like I said, I like the whole, when I was in dietetic school, it was like either like homeopathic was where I was going to go, or I was going to go into like reproductive medicine, which kind of ended up doing this like overlapping, and it was pretty cool. I met some dietitians that did some reproductive stuff with food. It was really interesting, super interesting topic, super cool things.
And diet plays a role in reproduction.
Huge. And nutrigenomics too is really cool. I don't know if you know what that is.
I do know what that is.
Yeah,
yes.
Super interesting.
Nutrigenomics actually was part of a course when I was in grad school as well. So nutrigenomics, a lot of people don't know about, but is finally coming around to, we should check if your body actually knows how to use that. So,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting.
It is.
But it was a pleasure talking to you both.
Thanks.
This was the best day I've had. This is pretty awesome. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
this. Thank you.
Of course, and then of course I'll tag you guys and you'll be in there and we'll kind of go from there. And I hope to talk to you guys again.
I have more I can say, so you are welcome back anytime, okay?
Yeah, maybe we'll do another one at some point.
I'm in.
All
This
right.
was great. This would be great.
Good, I'm glad.
All right.
All right, guys, I appreciate your time and look back next week for another great episode.